Flights cancelled as cross-strait tensions rise. Taiwan and China are locked in a fierce dispute over new flight routes, with Chinese New Year travelers bearing the consequences. China Eastern Airlines and Xiamen Air have cancelled 176 flights during the February 15 to 20 lunar holiday, affecting roughly 50,000 passengers. The Chinese carriers failed to get approval on 4 flight routes over the Taiwan Strait, which passes within 7.8 kilometers of the country's territorial line at its nearest point. Taiwan says the routes pose a safety threat since they come close to airspace used by Taiwanese commercial and military aircrafts. China Eastern accused Taiwan of violating the humanitarian needs of passengers and their families, while China's Civil Aviation Administration condemned authorities for refusing to give approval. But Taiwan claims it hadn't been consulted over the routes as it should have been under a 2015 agreement. Taiwanese passengers have been advised to take other flights, though military planes will be deployed at Taiwan-controlled Kinmen to transport citizens to the main island. Want to know what else Taiwan and China have been fighting over? Keep watching.
China aircraft carrier enters the Taiwan Strait. Tension between China and Taiwan was heightened after a Chinese aircraft carrier and a fleet of warships entered the Taiwan Strait on Wednesday. China's Liaoning aircraft carrier and warships entered Taiwan's Air Defense Identification Zone after returning from exercises in the South China Sea. The fleet sailed along the west side of the median line of the strait. In response, Taiwan scrambled fighter jets and Navy ships to monitor and control the situation. Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Council minister commented that threats would not benefit cross-strait ties, while China claims the Liaoning's movements complied with international law. Why is Trump's phone call with Taiwan such a big deal? U.S. President-elect Donald Trump took one phone call from Taiwan, and everybody lost their minds. But why? Civil war that broke out in China in 1927 involved communist revolutionaries led by Mao Zedong and the nationalist government. The nationalists, who were defeated in 1949, fled to Taiwan, where they hoped to retake the mainland. Fighting eventually ceased, with the two sides being ruled separately. However, both sides continued to claim rightful rule over all of China. Communist-ruled China has maintained that Taiwan is a breakaway province and that the two sides must eventually unify. The Taiwan-based government at the time declared mainland China was being controlled by illegitimate communist rebels. To this day, Taiwan is formally known as the Republic of China, while mainland China is officially the People's Republic of China. For decades, the United States and its allies recognized the government in Taiwan as China's rightful rulers, with Taiwan officials claiming China's seat at the United Nations. However, the U.S. eventually switched recognition from Taiwan's government to Beijing in 1979, and many other countries followed suit. Today, Taiwan is a democratic sovereignty, where most of its citizens say they will not surrender their freedoms to unify with the mainland. However, Taiwan is also unable to formally declare independence, as China has threatened such a move with military force. China is also concerned that an independent Taiwan would create a precedent for other regions such as Tibet to more vigorously push for separatism. China has made convincing threats. It conducted missile exercises in 1996 when Taiwan held its first direct presidential elections. The move was aimed at keeping people from voting for Li Denghui, who has advocated Taiwan's separate status from China. Despite the intimidation tactic, Taiwan saw a 76% voter turnout, and Li was elected with a 54% majority. Although tension between the two sides continue, Taiwan and China have increased cooperation over the years in the forms of postal, trade, and transportation links. Since the controversy surrounding Taiwan made headlines, members of the American public have questioned why the U.S. sells military equipment to Taiwan if it will not formally recognize Taiwan as a sovereign nation. The U.S. passed a law requiring the government to provide Taiwan with defensive weapons in case of potential aggression from China. However, to maintain the status quo, the U.S. has at the same time maintained that its official policy does not support an independent Taiwan. To keep the peace, the U.S. has retained an ambiguous position of keeping close relations to Taiwan while refusing to recognize its independence. Trump's phone conversation with Taiwan's president was a shock to China, as taking her call alongside other foreign leaders could be seen as the U.S.'s nod to Taiwan's sovereign status. However, whether one phone call signals an actual shift in U.S. policy remains to be seen. Taiwan kicked out of Kimberley Process meeting by whiny Chinese. Australia kicked off an international meeting over conflict diamonds on Monday with an indigenous-themed ceremony. It was intended to welcome international visitors to the Kimberley Process. But then the Chinese delegation went rogue over Taiwan's inclusion. The Kimberley Process seeks to end the global trade in blood diamonds. Taiwan has had official observer status since 2007. As Foreign Minister Julie Bishop was about to be introduced, the Chinese hijacked the microphone and started wailing like little kids. The Chinese then demanded to know if everyone in the room had been formally invited. According to one high-level Australian attendee, it was disgusting. It was extraordinary, so uncalled for and so inappropriate and so disrespectful, they said. Another session was abandoned altogether after continuous interruptions by various African delegations who are in bed with China. After China whined some more, the Taiwanese delegation was asked to leave. Leave it to the Chinese to always keep it classy. Chinese official visiting Taipei gets less than friendly reception. The director of Shanghai's Municipal Committee United Front Work Department, Xia Hailin, arrived in Taipei on Monday to attend the annual Twin City Forum between Taipei and Shanghai. And when he got there, he was welcomed by many pro-Taiwan independence protesters. During the forum, Xia is expected to meet with Taipei Mayor Ke Wen-je. The event was first held in 2010 and has been held annually since then. Protesters were angered by Mayor Ke's reception of Xia and blamed him for selling out Taiwan.
Taipei 市不要变成统战城市，台北市不要变成统战的窗口，请柯市长好自为之。
China has officially stopped communications with Taiwan since Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen's inauguration in May. Tsai has refused to acknowledge the 1992 consensus, which is an agreement that China says means both sides recognize there is only one China. Some Taiwanese Facebook users defiant of China's claim over Taiwan say they'll accept the One China agreement if China agrees to surrender to Taiwan. Other supporters of Taiwan independence say Taiwan has never been owned by China and that China should actually be considered a part of Taiwan.